Welcome to the 2022 year in review. In this video, I'm going to go through the knit and crochet projects that I made this year, as well as review my goals from 2022 and talk about what's coming up in the new year. Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. This is one of my favorite videos to do every single year. I love looking back at all of my projects and kind of looking at the numbers, looking at the types of projects that I made, looking at the number of projects that I made, especially in different categories, and kind of seeing what it tells me about the year. You can view all of the last, 4 years of years in review down below. I'll have them all linked in order so that you can watch through them in any way that you may want to after you see this one. And if you want to do a year in review, I would highly suggest doing this. Go on your Ravelry project page and just go to the projects section. And then if you go over to the side, there is a filter where you can select complete year completed, and you can pick 2022, and then you can just look at all the projects from 2022. Of course, this means that you will have had to be keeping up with your Ravelry projects or projects on Ravelry throughout the year, which is something I really enjoy doing because it helps me keep all my notes in one place, and I feel a sense of accomplishment when I get to move a project from currently working on it as a WIP to completed. So I really love being able to keep track of things there. Okay, so I also have a year in review Instagram template that's just a little graphic. You can download it down below or get it off of my Instagram page and then share it on your Instagram stories and tag me in it because I would love to see all of yours. So this year is kind of different, 2022. By the way, it's January 5th of 2023 right now. So I'm recording this a little bit later than I normally would in the year. We got to stay a little extra long at my family's house in Nashville, my parents' house in Nashville. That made it sound like we have a second home somewhere. We don't. Because of that, I'm a little bit delayed on doing it, but I feel like January 5th is the new January 1st. So if you're looking to start a new yarny habit, a knitting habit, a crochet habit, it's the perfect time to start. I am calling this year my year of hats, and I will explain that in just a little bit when I break down all of the projects. 2022 was a really interesting year for me because it was in some ways one of the hardest years of my life, but in other ways I grew so much and I changed so much and I matured in so many ways, especially in the Love and Stitches side of things. So I'm really excited to share with you everything that I have today.
Real quick, I want to share with you another thing that greatly improved my life in 2022. Dun da da da! My Flexi Spot standing desk. You've probably heard me talking before about how much I love using my Flexi Spot desk. Kent and I both have one. It could be the sleek glass top, the roomy sliding drawer, or the convenient USB ports. But what I love most is the ability to be able to stand and work throughout the day. As someone who spends a lot of time at the computer planning make-alongs and editing videos, it's a game changer to be able to give my back a break and switch up my working position. Then I don't feel quite so guilty about sitting and knitting for the rest of the night. Check out the FlexiSpot website linked in the description box below, where you can get up to 40% off January 10th through the 12th. And thank you as always to FlexiSpot for sponsoring today's video. Now, back to my 2022 stats.
We're gonna get started with my stats, which are just the numbers of projects that I completed. So I got this idea from Boston Jen, who has the Down Cellar Studio podcast. I don't know when I started listening to Jen, but I just remember that she does a year in review on her audio podcast. And since then, I started doing my own year in review. So I want to give credit where credit is due. And that is where my inspiration has come from to start doing these videos. And then they've kind of turned into something, a little bit. I've added some things here and there throughout the years. So we're going to start with just knit and crochet projects. Again, I just go to Ravelry and I filter to projects completed in 2022. So even if I started the project in let's say December of 2021, if it was completed in 2022, it is on this list and I am counting it as an FO for this year. Okay, so let's just run through the numbers really quick, and then I'm kind of gonna go by category and like break things down.
And number, tell number, even number.
Echo, stop. Does that ever happen to you? That was scary. But after I go through all the numbers, I'm gonna kind of break things down and go through like what I kind of noticed about themes and everything from these different categories, and like what my projects this year say about what was going on in my life this year. Okay, so 2022 stats. I completed in total 34 projects. 31 of those projects were knit and 3 of them were crochet. I completed 9 socks, 7 items for the neck, 6 sweaters, 2 things that I would call other garments, 8 things for the head. I think they were all hats actually, and 2 other items. So that's everything for 2022. So let's talk about kind of a year over year comparison. So in 2022, I completed 34 projects. I got distracted because Toaster is snoring. He's so cute. Okay, in 2022, I completed 34 projects, and in 2021, I completed 28 projects. So 6 more projects complete in 2022. I honestly think that makes a lot of sense because I did say that 2022 was a hard year, but 2021 was like a blur for me. I just didn't really feel like myself the entire year. I was really struggling to like tackle any kind of tasks. I was working all of the time and then like also not getting anything done at the same time, it felt like. And so it was a tough year, but it kind of just tracks for me that 2022 was a lot more organized. I was really keeping track of my projects. I was finishing things, or I was like, if I didn't want to complete something, I was ripping it out and it was like done, checked off the list, and completed in that sense. So that felt really good for this year. In a similar manner, this year in 2022, I completed 31 knitting projects versus 3 crochet projects. And in 2021, it was 27 knitting versus 1 crochet project. So I guess I did complete more crochet things this year, but it's still not a lot. And every year I feel like I'm saying the same things over, like, oh, I want to crochet more, but like, maybe I don't. Maybe I do just want to knit and like, that's okay. And then I just have like crochet projects here on occasion. Although I do have to say I have a crochet project that should be complete in 2023 that I'm thoroughly enjoying, but that will come up here in a little bit. In 2022, I made 9 pairs of socks, whereas in 2021, I made 14 pairs of socks. I definitely was not as interested in knitting socks this year in 2022, and I think that's due to a couple of things. So first of all, I released my Perfect Fit Socks course in early 2022 in February, and up until then, I had been like knitting a bunch of different socks, playing with the formula, trying to figure things out, and socks went from something that was like my out and about knitting, something that was easy for me to work on and very simple, to something that felt a lot more like a design or work or something like that. If you're a knitting and crochet designer, you would probably understand that kind of difference between just following a pattern and then like coming up with a pattern and the effort that takes mentally. And so I think socks were kind of like not feeling comfy like they have been in the past, where typically I'm knitting a pair of socks every single month. I didn't have that goal for 2022, and it's not a surprise that I didn't knit 1 pair a month and ended up with 9 pairs, which is still a lot of socks, I feel like, especially since I don't wear them that often. But speaking about socks, I kind of looked at the 9 socks that I made and like common things about them. So this year I knit all medium or tall socks. There were no shorty socks. All but 1 pair was knit in my size for me. So I kind of want to fix that this year, because when I went home for Christmas, my mom, my brother's girlfriend, my brother's fiance, I don't think she has any socks from me, my mother-in-law, they all love hand knitted socks. And here I am just like knitting socks in my size with no intention of really wearing them, when I could be knitting socks for others who really enjoy them and like knitting them throughout the year and giving them as gifts. So I feel like that's something to think about this year. All but, let's see, 3 were pattern socks and 6 of them were just plain vanilla socks. So that's actually pretty good for me, because usually I just knit a bunch of vanilla socks. And then all the socks used my favorite Fish Lips Kiss heel. I did play around with my formula though this year, and from 2021 to 2022, I reduced my stitch count for my socks. I found that I wasn't making them with enough negative ease. I played with shaping, which is in the Perfect Fit Socks formula in my course. And then I also added an ergonomic toe, which just means that the toes on the right and the left foot are sloped like opposite ways so that they fit the shape of your toe box even better. Also in my Perfect Fit Socks course. And then at the end of the year, like just recently, I discovered that I really have a preference for taller socks. So like more than 8 inches, 8.5 inches. I pulled on this like old pair of socks that I knit, and I was thinking, I really like these socks. Why do I like them so much? And realized that they were really tall, and that helped them to not fall down. They were also really snug. They also had the stitch pattern that I really like. So I'm currently working on a pattern for those socks to replicate them. So I'm excited about that. That's what I learned about myself this year in socks. See, it's very interesting to go back and look at everything as a whole. In 2022, I completed 7 items for the neck. In 2021, I tracked this as like shawls and cowls. I just combined them this year. But I made 2 shawls and 2 cowls in 2021. And then in 2022, I made 4 cowls and 3 shawls. The most interesting thing here, I think, is that I literally don't have any of those cowls anymore. I have been going through my finished items and letting go of things that I am not wearing and giving them away in various places. So I think what that tells me is that I don't really need to knit cowls, that I'm not wearing them. Actually, a couple of my cowls were crochet this year. But yeah, I'm just not wearing cowls, at least at the moment. So maybe that's something that I really don't need to make unless it's a gift for someone. I really like making cowls. They're kind of like a fun, quick thing to make, but it's kind of like making versus wearing, like, and where that balance is for me. And you'll kind of see in my goals that I talk about later on that I'm going to be focusing more on making things that I intend to wear and like fill in gaps in my wardrobe. That's just where I'm at now. This is not where I've always been. So I also kind of realized that I don't really wear shawls anymore, mostly because I'm working from home and I'm like, this is like my nice t-shirt. Normally I'm wearing like a knitted graphic tee every single day, unless I'm filming and I try to look a little bit nicer. Whereas in the past, not last year, but the year before that, I was going into work. And so I would like, you know, throw on a shawl on occasion. And I feel like I just like shawls still, and I need to do that at home. So I think this is gonna look like for me going through my finished items, letting go of some things that I just know I'm not gonna wear, and then being more intentional about wearing the things that I have made. Because it's fun, right? When you like put on a shawl or put on a sweater or even socks that you made, it feels so good. Okay, sweaters. I made 6 sweaters in 2022 and also 6 sweaters in 2021. So that's really interesting. I didn't realize I made that many sweaters last year because I feel really proud of the 6 sweaters that I made this year. So I feel like that's pretty good. This year in 2022, I made 2 long sleeve sweaters and 4 short sleeve or like mid-length sleeve sweaters. And I feel like I'm really starting to learn more about myself and what I really like wearing. And I am again gonna be kind of brutal with the sweaters that I have made, especially the ones prior to 2022 because they're not as new. I don't feel as attached to them, and starting to let things go and then starting to create and knit and crochet sweaters that I really want as part of my everyday wardrobe. Okay, new category this year is other garments. So normally the only garments I made were tops, sweaters, cardigans, pullovers. Oh, by the way, all the sweaters I made this year were pullovers. But this year, I also made a dress and a pair of shorts. And that was really fun and really different. I learned something new this year about making garments that are not just for the top. And that's that I need, and I think most people need, negative ease. So with sweaters, most of the time I'm knitting sweaters that have positive ease. So they have extra material here on the sides, which gives you, you know, something that looks like this, a little more not like relaxed fit to something oversized. And that's where I like my sweaters at least right now. So I kind of try to do the same thing with the shorts and the dress, and I learned that that's just not the right way to do it. Actually, the pattern designer told me that, but I didn't believe it until I tried it myself and realized that negative ease is something really important for garments that are on the lower half of your body. Who would have thought that fit needs to be different for the top half and the lower half of your body? So that's something cool that I learned this year, and I do want to make some more garments for the bottom half of me this year because I really did enjoy making my shorts and wearing my shorts. They're just a little bit too big. Okay, what's next? Head. Okay, so I made 8 hats this year, and that's why we're gonna call this year the year of hats. Normally in the past, I've always had socks on the go. Socks were my comfort knitting, socks were my easy knitting, my out and about knitting. And somewhere around like in the beginning of the year, because of my course, I wasn't knitting very many socks. Then I kind of got my mojo back. We did sock week. I knit 30 pairs of socks. Really proud of myself for that. And then after that, I needed a break again, and I like really went hard on the hats. But really, I was knitting hats all throughout the year. I was super surprised to see that I made 8 hats, whereas in 2021, I just made 1 hat. It could have something to do with me realizing that now that we live in New York City, I actually need to wear hats. But the other thing that I realized is that the only hats that I'm really wearing are my Muscle Burrow hats. So even though I have all these hats that I've knitted and they're amazing and they're great, I've found that the most practical and the warmest hat, and the one that I guess I'm finding the most attractive too, are my simple Muscle Burrow hats. And I'm going to show one of them here later on when I talk about my favorites. So hats were really my comfort knitting for this year of hats. And I made 3 Muscle Burrow hats. It's a pattern by Isolde Teague. I made 2 hats for Kent, and all of the rest were for me. I made myself 6 hats this year, and how many do I wear? 1. Again, just something to keep in mind. I don't know if I'll be making myself more Muscle Burrow hats. I have one currently on the needles, so that's probably enough, but I might be thinking about like replacing some of the ones I have with different colors, something maybe a little more neutral. Okay, last category is my other category. This year in 2022, I made 2 things that I would consider an other, like not part of these other categories. One, they're actually both sets of things. So one was knitted knockers, which are knitted breast prosthetics for people who have had mastectomies. And I think I made 4 pairs of size B knitted knockers. And then I'm just counting that as one project. And then the other was my crochet yarn cozies, which was a pattern I released this year. And I probably made 3 or 4 of those, but again, just counting it as one project. So I guess if you counted individual items, but socks as pairs, I would have a few more projects than this, but I just did it by project page instead. In 2021, I made 3 other things, a cozy and a float tote, and 24 granny squares, which I did not do this year. I did something different instead. So there we go. That is the breakdown of my 2022 stats. Something that used to concern me deeply was not having any whips cross over from one year into the next. It just felt like a really nice clean slate to have nothing started and nothing cast on. And what's wild is I did not even think about this as 2022 ended. I think it's because throughout the whole year, I've been keeping really good track of my projects, and every single month around the end to the beginning of the next month, I was looking at my goals, completing things, and I was working through my stash, which made me pay a lot more attention to things. So I really didn't think about it as the year ended, like, oh, I want to finish this project before the end of the year. I want to do X, because I already had everything planned out for what I was going to be working on when. So it really surprised me when I went and I looked at my whips and I saw just how many I currently have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 current whips. Not all of them are focus projects right now, things that I'm currently working on. And I am including scrappy blankets this time, which is not something I have ever done before because I just had no end in sight for those projects, but now I do. So let me share with you the projects that are going into the new year, into 2023. And I'm gonna do that in order of when I started them because the only ones that are really old are the scrappy blankets. So, oops, I'm losing some stitches here in this project. Hang on, let me fix that. So the first project that I have going into the new year is a Muscle Burrow by Isolde Teague that I started on November 9th of 2022. This project has no deadline. It is just here for me to work on whenever I need a project that I need to work on in the dark. So I just pull that out occasionally whenever I go to the movies or a Broadway show, or I just have nothing else that's good for like out and about knitting. So that's a project that's no rush. It's not bothering me. It's not, actually I think it is at the top of my project page, but maybe I'll put it into hibernation. I don't know. I just never know when I'm going to work on it. So that's number 1. The second project is definitely my main project right now, and I started this one on December 18th, so pretty close to the end of the year. It is a sweater. It is the Lace and Fade Boxy by Joji Locatelli, and I'll have links to all of these projects down below if you want to go see all of the yarn details. I'm just not going to go over it right now since it's not technically a podcast. I'm just wanting to share with you what's going into the new year. So that's my main project that I'm working on right now, planning to finish it by around the end of January. The third one, oh, actually, wait, did I skip one? No, this is for later. The third one is a pair of Advent socks that I started on December 25th. So this was really fun this year. I don't think I've done this in a long, long while because I've always had so many lingering Advent projects and other things that this just didn't feel possible. But I cast this sock on December 25th as a Christmas Day cast on, and that was really fun. I really enjoyed that. So like right after Advent ended, I had something new and fun to work on. And this is the sock that I mentioned earlier that I'm trying to work on to create a pattern. It's a nice, really tall sock, and I really have been enjoying that one. So that one's also kind of on the back burner for right now because I'm mostly working on my sweater. Okay, so then I have these scrappy blankets, and one of them I've actually been working on a lot. It is this one. It is the Granny Stripes pattern by Lucy of Attic 24. All my notes are in my project page. This one I started in, let's see, I have the date, at January 6th of 2018. So it is almost this project's 5th birthday. But I am planning to finish this one this year, so I'm really excited about that. You can tell it's a pretty big blanket as of this point, and we are going to count it as a whip going over into the new year. Normally I would say don't even count your scrappy blankets, and I'm saying that to you. Don't even count your scrappy blankets because why? There's no deadline on them. But since I'm so close, I do want to finish that one in this year. Then that brings me to my second scrappy blanket, which is this. It's just a bunch of granny squares. These are granny squares that I've been making for, I think, 4 years of Advent. 3 or 4 years of Advent. I didn't work on them this year. I did my granny stripe blanket instead. But I started that project on April 29th, 2018. In the past, I would never even consider this to be a work in progress, but I do want to finish it this year, so I'm bringing it to light. I'm going to not worry about it at the current moment, but work on it after I finish my other scrappy blanket. And then I have one more. This is a project that I did start in 2022, but I almost forgot about it. And that is a sweater. It is the Citron Light by Emily Green. You can see that I just barely started it because I wanted to, and also because I wanted to have this yarn out of stash, not gonna lie, and I honestly thought I would work on it more, but once I started my Lace and Fade Boxy, my current sweater whip, I just decided this one was gonna go into hibernation for a little while. So I have a couple other projects. I went to the hibernation section on my Ravelry project page. And if you like to keep your projects organized in Ravelry, toaster is so loud. If you like to keep your projects organized in Ravelry, any projects that you aren't currently working on, you can change from, what is it, like current, I think, to hibernating. Let me see, hold on. I don't remember what the actual thing is. You can change it from in progress to hibernating, and that will move it from the top of your project page all the way down to the bottom, but it's still there. It's still saved whenever you want to work on it currently. I love doing this because then I can go in and update my project pages for any project that is currently on my radar. And it doesn't feel like those other projects are like calling out to me like, work on me, why aren't you working on me? And I just think it feels really, really good. So that one is currently in hibernation along with the scrappy blanket, the Granny Square scrappy blanket. And then I had three other projects in there. I have three other projects in there. I have a float tote that I started working on last year, and I had big plans to like film tutorials and all of this stuff, and that just didn't happen. So that's kind of there, but it's a design, so I'm not counting that as a WIP. And then I have two projects to frog. One is another scrappy blanket, the coziest memory. If you remember those little mitered squares, I barely even started on mine, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. I don't want to work on it anymore. I don't want to have it finished. I just don't want it. I already gave away all my small scraps to somebody who was going to use them, and I feel good about letting that go. I feel free. And then the last thing is my beachcomber flares, which I did start in December of 2022, but I have ultimately decided to not use that yarn for that project, so I will rip it out and then maybe start the beachcomber flares sometime later this year. I've got more projects to share with you, but this time it's finished ones and my favorites from the year. So I kind of went through each category and just selected one item that was my favorite. And it was really hard to do because I feel like I made a lot of projects that I'm really proud of this year and that I was very intentional with and like truly loved. That's not to say that I have never like made projects that I really love in the past, but I just think like with each project, with each month of 2022, I was getting closer and closer to like staying true to myself. And one thing that I have like kind of made my mantra for 2023 is to pick my favorite thing the first time. Or to say this, like pick my favorite not on the third time, not on the second time, but the first time. If you're somebody who likes to people please sometimes, or maybe you just like to deny yourself, you do this, right? You're like, well, I really want like this, but I'll just settle for this for now. And then you're like, that didn't work out. So I'll just settle for this. And then eventually you end up picking the thing that you really want. Why didn't you just pick it the first time? So that's how I feel like I've been getting like better and better about picking things that I really want and making projects that I really want throughout this year. Okay, so let's start with my first category, which is socks. My favorite socks that I made this year are actually the ones I just finished. So if you've been watching any of the other videos, you've seen these. These are the Cider House socks by Summer Lee. I just love how these socks came out. I think there's so many things that I love about them. I love the colors. These are Mandy's Makings yarn from Sockmas 2022. I love how the combination of like the fraternal twin socks came out. I love the pattern itself with the cables in it. I love the height of these socks. They're not quite as tall as what I've realized is my new favorite, like 8.5 inches, but they're pretty close to that. I like the detail that I added. I think I saw somebody else do that on Instagram, though I can't remember who to give them credit, but I thought that that was really cute. I just like everything about these. I have worn them to bits already. Not to bits, but like, I think you can tell how they're getting pretty worn there already. Because I wore them many, many days in a row for after Christmas. And you know what? That's what else I like about them. I like that I finished these, that they were kind of a Christmassy theme, that I finished them before Christmas, that I got to wear them during the holidays, and it has just like good memories all rolled up into it. So that's why these are my favorite socks this year. Okay. Next up, I picked out one of my projects for the neck as my favorite for this year. And that was a little bit tricky because there's really only one I think that stands out as just phenomenal, and it's not my doing, it's the pattern design, but also just because I haven't really been wearing shawls and stuff this year. So I was like, do I even pick something? But I thought that this needed to come back out for a second. So this is, and I've actually worn it. Not a lot, but I have. So this is the Twists and Turns shawl by Stephen West. This was this year's mystery shawl knit along. Here, get a great look. I mostly used a kit that I bought, which was the first time that I have done that. So that was pretty cool. I did make one change and swapped out a color. This is the first year that I've really stayed caught up with the make along. It was really hard. I literally felt like I was running a marathon because I've also done, well, I've done a half marathon. I've done that too, so I can say that. But it was really challenging. Verdict is still out if I'm gonna do one again next year. I honestly don't know, but I did have a fun time most of the time when I was making this. I added some fun tassels to mine that was not part of the pattern, and I'm just really pleased with both how it came out and that I was able to make adjustments along the way and like feel in the moment with it. So I feel like when I'm picking my favorite projects, it's not just about the result, but also about the journey and like how I felt while I was making it. So I'm really proud of this one this year because it was a doozy and I think it came out pretty cool. And I really like my colors, so I'm really happy with that. That's the Twists and Turns. Okay, my favorite sweater. This one was actually the hardest to pick from because I really like all of the sweaters that I made this year. At first, I had picked out my, oh no, what is it called? It's a colorwork sweater. I made it at the beginning of the year and, well, it doesn't matter because I didn't pick that one. And then I was like, no, that one's not my favorite. It's something else. And then as I was getting ready, like pulling everything out for this actual video, I realized what truly my favorite sweater was. So I had to switch it last minute. And my favorite is my Something Cozy by Shayna Billow. This yarn is just amazing. I have great memories of buying the yarn. I have great memories of knitting the sweater. I wear the sweater all the darn time. It is just my favorite. So when I got this yarn, it is from Chelsea Luxe. I think it's called like Chelsea's Coupe, but again, I'll have all the links for the project pages with the details. My friend Amy and I were on the New Jersey yarn crawl back in April or May or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. And Christina, why am I second guessing myself? But Christina, I think is her name. It is her name, Christina of Chelsea Yarns, was wearing this color. And I was just like, I love that pattern. I love that color. I love everything about it. I just want that. And so I just picked out the yarn right away, got the pattern right away, and started the sweater pretty quickly. Amy also, this was the start of our like making sweaters together. Amy also got the sweater, or got this yarn, but in a different color, made this sweater, and I just think it's the best thing ever, so I'm gonna wear it for the rest of the video. It is just a fun shape, and it's short, so I usually wear a shirt kind of like this underneath it. It's boxy, it was fast. The one thing I would change about it is not the pattern, but it's my fault, is I alternated yarns on the back, so it's striped, because I thought I was going to run out of yarn, and I much prefer the way that it looks here with kind of like a little bit of a pooling effect, but I just think it looks really, really cool. So this is a sweater that if I lost it or something happened to it, I would make another one. Like, that's how much I like it. It's got the kind of 3/4 sleeves, which I think are fun. I just love everything about it, and it's so cozy. I may also make it a little bit longer next time. I don't know, it's a pretty easy pattern to adjust. It's very simple. But yeah, this is my favorite sweater of this year. Okay, my favorite hat. I think you already know the answer to this, so let's just say it together. My favorite hat this year is the Muscle Burrow Hat, of course, but specifically this one. So this is the one that I made. Actually, I think it's my first Muscle Burrow of the year. I did have one that I made last year. And then I made this one with like a little bit of a challenge in mind, which was to use up as much of a skein of sock yarn as I could. So I think I had about 4 grams left. I can't remember. I have the details on my project page, but I made it pretty much according to pattern. Like, it's a little bit longer, I think, than the pattern suggests, but I didn't change the stitch pattern or colors or anything like that. What I like so much about this one, and I just had to recently wash it because I was wearing it so much. Let me get it together. What I like about this one is that it slouches and folds up. So I just think it fits me the best out of all of them. And I just think it looks the best on me. And the weird part is when I first finished this, I actually didn't like it. I thought that this looked too bulky for my tiny head because my head is a little bit small for like my body proportions. So I thought it looked a little bit silly, but the more I wore it, the more I loved it. And I don't know, there's just something about this hat. It's actually warm, whereas any of my single layer hats, I feel like I just can't wear when it's cold, like when it's below 30 and you're walking to the grocery store, it is cold. So it covers my ears and actually 4 layers with the double up. And I love it. It's comfy, it's perfect. Again, if I lost it, I would replace it by knitting another one. That's how much I love this hat. Okay, last one. I'm just doing an other category. I'm going to include my other garments because my favorite other thing that I made this year is my seaside dress. So this dress, I think again, it's the yarn, it's the pattern, but it's also the memories that came with making this project, that came with wearing this project. It is just everything. So this is I would say it's a simple dress, not saying it was simple to design because there's lots of really good elements in here, but it's a simple silhouette. And it is a pattern called the Seaside Dress by Brianna Lapino, or the Little Wolf Knits. It's got a lovely ribby design on the side. It's got some lovely shaping that you can't really see with the way I'm holding it up, but it's a long dress and it's got a slit. And I did mine in a fade. The original pattern has 3 color blocked sections, which also looks really good, but I had all this fade yarn that I wanted to use. And Whitney of Moonglow, this is her yarn, Moonglow, and I don't think she carries this base anymore, which makes me sad and makes me love it even more because I can't get it again. But she helped me fill in, I think we originally had 7 pinks, and she helped me fill in, I want to say there's 3 additional pinks in here. So literally nobody can ever duplicate this. It is a totally original, dare we say couture piece, because again, it's unique, it's custom for me, it's custom for my body, and I'm really, really proud of it. So I have great memories of working on this. I started it right after Sock Week. I worked on it while Kent and I took our anniversary trip to Jamaica and worked on it on the beach. I pretty much worked on it all throughout July and August, and then I got to wear it for the first time to Rhinebeck this year. And I think we should put a picture in here because I'm not going to put this dress on right now of me wearing it at Rhinebeck. It was just such a stunning dress. I felt so beautiful in it, and I was shocked to be wearing a knitted dress and feeling so good. So yeah, so many amazing makes this year. I feel a little weird saying that about my own things, but again, it's just mostly the memories that come with like picking out the yarn, you know, choosing how to use the yarn in the project. And I just feel like in 2022 I was able to kind of clear out all the noise by eliminating my stash and reducing the number of projects that I had going on, and really focus on the projects that I was making and making them, taking the time to make them amazing in something that I really truly love. Okay, I have a few more numbers for you. Some are like a little business things, some are personal things, some are, well, they're mostly like other Love and Stitches things that are kind of related, and I just like to look at these year over year and kind of see how much I was able to do in a year. This helps me a lot, especially when a year feels like I didn't get anything done, and then I look back and I'm like, wow, how amazing that despite this, or you know, when all of this is going on, you still were able to do these things. And I just want to share them with you too, in case you are like going through something and you need inspiration to look back on your year, whether it's your knitting, crochet, your personal life stuff, whatever it is. And then especially if you are thinking about or have been working on a yarny related business. Okay, so these are just a couple other numbers of things that I like to look at. So the first one is Knitty Natty videos. So in 2022, I posted 112 videos on the Knitty Natty channel. This is a little bit more than 2021 when I posted 104 videos. So I feel very proud about that. Of those videos, I'm just looking down at these, 37 were podcasts, 10 were make-along videos, usually live ones, 36 were vlogs, but that includes 25 videos from Vlogmas, 2 were just kind of bonus uncategorized videos, 7 were related to project planning or stash, 6 were yarn store tours or events, 14 were tutorials or how-tos, and that's all of them. I hope that adds up because I don't think that I checked that. Your favorite video of 2022 by far, and this is by views, is the video where I first said I was going to eliminate stash. So it is called My Plan to Eliminate Stash in 2022 with 60,000 views. This is the review. And that's just incredible. Like, whoa. Did I ever think when I started out on YouTube that I would have a video with that many people watching? Like, never. So that's really incredible, and thank you so much for being here and watching this video too. Okay, make-alongs this year. Make-alongs have changed a lot in the last year, especially because of the Love and Stitches membership, where we have our own make-alongs within those. And I found it really hard, honestly, to figure out the balance between doing make-alongs and making them special in the membership, and then figuring out how to still have public make-alongs and not have my members feel like there's not something special for them. So I've had a hard time with that this year, honestly. So because of that, I've kind of reduced the number of public make-alongs that we're doing. And then just on like a management level, it's a lot of work to put together the make-alongs. And so I don't know, I'm playing with that this year, and I may have some ideas to change things up a little bit. But for 2022, we had 2 make-alongs. We had Sock Week, which I believe it was our 4th year doing Sock Week, and we had Sockmas. It was our 3rd year, I think, doing Sockmas. You know what? I need to go back and look at this because that would be fun to keep track of these make-alongs that happen year over year. As far as designs go, I published 3 designs in 2022. My Sweetheart Socks, my Playtime Cowl, and my Crochet Yarn Cozy Light. My favorite pattern this year that I published was my Crochet Yarn Cozy Light. And I bring this up because I don't feel like I did a very good job of telling people about it. And it just didn't do very well as far as pattern sales and like seeing people making it. So crocheters, the Yarn Cozy Light is the best thing ever. So I have a knitted Yarn Cozy Light, but now I have a crocheted version. So there's this plain version, and it's so easy, and new techniques may be the crocheted I-cord if you haven't done that before. And then there's also a ribbed version. This one is with some self-striping yarn that looks like this. They work great. This is what it looks like when it's empty, not quite as exciting, but they work great if you have caked yarn and you're pulling from the center. I love them so much, and they're so fun to use up scraps and like still get to see your scrap yarn. I feel like when you, let's say you have leftover yarn and it's a yarn that you really, really love and like you want to use every last bit. I feel like when you put it in a project like this, it kind of doesn't get to shine quite as much. Like, don't get me wrong, I love this project, but it's really fun when you can actually see it and use it all of the time. Granted, you'll need a little bit of a larger scrap for this. I think like 30 grams of fingering weight yarn, but I love these things. So this is my favorite of 2022 of my designs. But your favorite, and this is by Pattern Download, was the Sweetheart Socks. And Whitney of Moonglow and I did a collaboration in February, I believe, or was it January? I think it was like maybe January, February thing of the Sweetheart socks, and she came up with one of her beautiful kits, and I designed this colorwork sock, which is a really fun pattern if it is your first like color work to do, because it's lots of little itsy bitsy sections that you can put together, and then just some more fun striping detail where I teach you how to knit over your ends so you don't have a billion ends as you're knitting your socks. So these were by and far your favorite pattern of 2022. Not a lot to choose from since I had just 3 designs, and I really don't have any like number design goals for this year. Just I'd like to design, but it's not at the top of my priorities anymore, and I'm starting to accept that. Whereas before I was really beating myself up for not reaching that like 6 design goal. I think I'm just going to let it be and then see where I get in 2023. Other businessy things. So I created and filmed my Perfect Fit Socks course. This was the hardest thing that I have done business-wise this year. I just couldn't even believe how many new things I needed to learn in order to do this, and I've learned so much since then, and I can't wait to create now more courses. I think that I found like a beautiful balance of something that I have a skill set in. This feels so weird because I feel like I am like bragging, but as someone who was a teacher for 7 years, this is something that I have a skill set in, and also the skills of knitting and having taught and having worked in yarn shops, well, one yarn shop for quite a long time. I just feel like I have learned how to teach people to knit and crochet, and I love doing it and finding this amazing thing that uses my skills and something that I love, knitting and crochet, and combines them into something that I can do that feeds my family. Like, it's just a beautiful thing. And so I am really, really proud of myself for the Perfect Fit Socks course, not only the like actual course content and like the things that I was able to teach and the things that people have told me that they've learned from that course and been able to implement in their own socks, but just like learning how to do that, and then how to like get it online, how to sell it to people, how to make sure that I'm like continuing to answer questions and keep up with things. So I'm just really proud of that. And then from that, I was able to take part of that course and turn it into a mini course, my Fish Lips Kiss Heel course, which has been probably one of the favorites that I have done. So I don't want to say yet exactly what I have planned for this year because it's the beginning of the year and I'm still working on what exactly I want to do and when. But I would like to have more courses this year. Oh, and you might be wondering if the Perfect Fit Sock course is going to be back. And it will be back, but I don't know exactly when, and that is the truth. So I'll put the wait list down below. Let me make sure I remember to do this. So that way, if you're interested, you can get notified and I will send you an email when that course is back. Okay, another businessy thing. The Love and Stitches membership, which is now in its 3rd year, so we've been going for 2 years. So 2021 was the 2nd year. It grew from 107 members in January to 329 members in our last quarter, October to December. There's so many other things that grew and changed in the membership, and I don't want to bore you by talking about all of them, but if you're a member, or if you have been a member, or if you're thinking about becoming a member in the future, just know that I am so appreciative of you for like letting me learn and grow and do something new. And you are a part of something that is, I see now, changing like in the knitting and crochet world. I see more and more people going from like something that's more of a Patreon, kind of like a smaller scale thing, to something that's larger and bigger. And how cool that like we are a part of that and making it a possibility for others to make a career out of knitting and crochet. So applause for everybody. This is so, so cool. Okay, social media. I do not really pay super close attention to my numbers every month like I used to. When I was early on, like in 2018, I was tracking every single month how many followers and subscribers did I gain on like YouTube and Instagram. And if you're starting out, I would highly suggest that because things do change a lot from month over month. But now I feel like I have the privilege of reaching a like number that is significant enough that it's good. It's good where it's at. And I'm not overly stressed about those numbers anymore, but I do like to look at them from like January to January and just see how much has changed and grown. And again, just to encourage you, especially if you're starting out in this, growth is exponential. So while you may feel discouraged by, like, let's say you grew from like 100 followers to like 200 followers, well, if you double again, and then you double again, and then you double again, that growth is exponential. And honestly, it usually grows even faster than that. So keep it up. You're doing a great job. So on Instagram, at the end of 2021, I was at about 14,000 followers on Instagram. And now, January 5th, literally today, I just hit 21,000 followers. Whoa, that's really, really cool. I really only noticed it because it went from like a point something to like a rounded number, and like that stood out to me. So that's why I saw it today and I was making notes for the video. But most of the time I don't really look at it too much, but it still is really exciting and so cool. On YouTube in January of 2022, I was at just over 17,000 subscribers. My goal, I did set a goal for this one, was 30,000 subscribers. And on January 5th of 2023, I am at 27.5 thousand subscribers. So quite close to that 30,000 goal. That means I grew by about 10,000. Wow, that's really amazing. I'm actually just now realizing it, like looking at these numbers next to each other. That's incredible. Like I'm so proud of that. Thank you so much. And just in case you didn't know this, subscribing to a YouTube channel is a huge way to say thank you to anyone that you follow on YouTube. It's a very small thing that you can do. But again, YouTube is a computer, right? It's an algorithm. And so it just shows that like you like that person's channel and that you might want to come back and watch more videos. So there you go. Always good to do, especially for all the smaller knitters and crocheters out there that are making videos. It's really hard. It takes a lot of bravery. So I try to always do that for people that I like to watch. So something else that I wanted to say about this is that I just saw that, okay, hold on. How do I want to say this? Like growing on YouTube to me actually is something I am focusing on. And I have a goal. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I have a goal for 2023. It's a big one, and it is 50,000. So right now I'm at 27.5. My goal for 2023 is to reach 50,000 subscribers. And you may be wondering, didn't you just say you don't pay attention to numbers and you don't care? It's not that I don't care. It's that I don't want that to be the only thing that I am concerned and worried about. It's more important to me to make good quality videos and to interact with the community than to just have the numbers out there. But I would be lying if I said that they weren't important in order to grow and to actually reach those other important things on YouTube. So 50,000 is my big scary goal that I'm very excited about, and I'm going to work as hard as I can to get close to that. And the reason is that I think it's so cool to see creators on YouTube that are in the knitting and crochet world that have reached these really big subscriber numbers. I think it would show people who are not knitters and crocheters, if they happen upon one of my videos or somebody else's video and go, oh my gosh, there are 50,000, 100,000, 500,000 people that care about this. Maybe I should check it out. Maybe I want to crochet. Maybe I want to knit. Somebody who I deeply respect and admire is Tony Lipsy. She is TL Yarn Crafts, and she is a crochet designer, very big in the Tunisian crochet world. And she just recently reached 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I was so excited for her because, again, that means that there are people out there, 500,000 people, that care about crochet, and that when somebody that's not a crocheter happens upon that and they're like, what? Why do people want to know like 5 Tunisian crochet techniques. I don't know, I'm just making up a video. But when they see that and they're like, wow, 500,000 people care, maybe I should care. I just think that is big and amazing. And then also, Kay, the crazy sock lady, 50,000 subscribers this year. So again, I just am like excited for what that means for the knitting and crochet community, that it is becoming something that people really care about. Well, it always has been, but now other people are going to know about it, right? Okay, a few more things. These are just personal things. I have been keeping track of the books that I have been reading this year. If you follow me on Instagram, you see me most mornings, at least Monday through Friday. I am sitting and I am reading on my Kindle with my flippy book prop, and I am knitting on something simple while I eat my breakfast. This has been the most wonderful way to start my day. And what was interesting is I was like, wow, this is a totally new habit for me this year. I've never really looked back at the books that I've read. I read 28 books this year. I was able to track that via Goodreads, which is apparently something that I have been using for a while. So like I said, I thought this was something new, but no, I guess I'm just a reader. I looked back at, since 2016, I have been tracking my books in Goodreads, and while 28 is not the most books that I've read in a year, it is the most in a while. And I think that what's different about this year is that I read a lot of books that were like a little more in depth, a little bit longer, a little more adult, even though a lot of them were young adult fiction. I read different books this year, and that has to do a lot with my habit of like reading in the morning, because when I've been a reader at night for a long time, but I don't read for very long. I fall asleep. And so reading in the morning has meant that I'm actually reading more. And then also in the Love and Stitches membership, we've had a book club going on, and I've been trying to read those books as much as I can. And so that's gotten me out of my usual genres a little bit. So that's been really cool. I'm proud of my 28 books. I don't have a number for 2023, but I would just like to keep up my habit of reading in the morning. It's already in place. It's something that I don't really have to think about right now. The other thing that I started in 2022 was going to Pilates. I love Pilates. I think it is so much fun. It is so challenging. It's so empowering to be able to do these moves in Pilates. So if you're like me and you thought that Pilates was just kind of like yoga, like on a mat and stuff, it can be. And also not putting down yoga. Yoga is really hard too. I feel like the way that I said that sounded like I was putting down yoga. I'm not. Love yoga, very challenging. But Pilates, at least the classes that I'm going to, you're on a reformer, which is like a sliding platform that you either lay, stand, kneel, a variety of things on with like resistance. And it is so cool to do. Has been incredible for my strength. It's been incredible for my core. When I started, so I looked back. So I use I go to Club Pilates, which is like all over the United States. I actually did it in Texas too. But I really like the one here in New York. I've really liked all of them. But I really like here in New York. I go to my Club Pilates, I look on my app, and it said I've done 63 classes this year. I started going to classes in March, so I just divided 10 months by 63 classes, and I got an average of 6.3, about 6 classes per month, which I'm paying for 8. So I think that means I need to make sure I'm going to all 8 of my classes in a month. But this was something that I wasn't sure I was going to do this year because it's really expensive. It is quite expensive for like much more expensive than joining the gym. Maybe, I don't know, it seems like it is here at least. And so I was putting it off even though I really wanted to do it. And my therapist that I was seeing at the time is actually the one who encouraged me to just go ahead and start. I can't remember exactly how she said it. It sounded so much better then, but it was something like I was basically just trying not to find a way to go to Pilates, and I was kind of punishing myself by like it was expensive and that was my excuse, but like I could make it work. We could like not spend money in another area to like get me to Pilates. She said something along the lines of like, why don't you just start? Why are you waiting? Why are you waiting to start? Because I think I was going to wait until the second half of the year. Why don't you just start going? And I did, and I'm so glad that I did, and I'm so glad to keep going and do more classes. Go to my 8 classes because I'm paying for 8. I need to go to 8 classes a month in 2023. It's not about, well, it's about fitness for me and like being strong. And again, I just have so much fun there. So feel really, really proud of that. Okay, hopefully those were some interesting numbers. I just realized I talked for a really long time about that. And I'd like to talk next about my goals from 2022, how they went, and what's coming up in 2023. So before I start talking about my 2022 goals, I want to go back and revisit 2021. When I was going through and making my notes of like what I was able to accomplish for my 2022 goals and all of that, I could really tell like how sad I was in 2021, how defeated I was, and it really even reflected in the goals that I made. It was just like, you could tell it had been a hard year. And I think like being removed from it now, it's easier to go back and see that and to look at that. And I'm in a much better place than I was at the end of last year. Is that right? Yeah, at the end of 2021. Not in a great place. The beginning of 2022, also not really in a great place. But now at the end of 2022, mentally, I'm in a much better place in so many areas, in a such better place. And it's just interesting. Like, I don't know if you could tell from that video when I did my year in review last time, but I can tell, like I can see it. And it's just a good feeling, I think, to know that things have changed and things are better. But I basically wanted to say that before I got into the goals. And just again, if you are having like a hard time, my heart just goes out to you, and like seek the help that you need is all that I really want to say. But yeah, so my 2022 goal, I don't really have, I had goals, but it was really just to like be gentle to myself. That's literally what I had written. 2022, gentle year of knitting. How ironic that it was really not gentle in the way that I was super structured and I was super goal oriented. I don't know if that's gentle for everyone, but I think that was gentle for me, because what it ended up being is a year of me letting go of a lot of stuff. I let go of a lot of stash. I let go of a lot of projects. I let go of a lot of like things that, you know, knitting things because other people were knitting things, or like continuing to work on a project when I didn't like the project. I just really felt like I shed a lot of that in 2022 and started to really pay attention to what was most important to me. And I don't know, it was just a really interesting year. Interesting is the best word I have for it. Okay, so let me go back to what my 2022 goals were. So these are the goals I made at the end of 2021 for 2022. So let's see if they happened. The first one was to eliminate my stash, and I did it. I am calling it good. I'm calling it done. I got down to 1 skein. So proud of myself. If you want to see that whole journey, I just recently did a 1-year stash update that I will link and you can go watch. Highlighting that for myself again because I kind of forgot to do that. I just did that video and kind of reviewed the entire journey of going from 50 skeins in stash down to 1 skein in stash, how that worked for me this year. And I can't wait to share with you more later this year once I see what it's like to not have a stash and if it was worth it. I'll tell you, I'll let you know. Okay, my next goal for 2022 was to not fill my plate with projects. So I feel like I'm still learning this, but I feel like it's very much improved. This wasn't really like a numbers goal. It wasn't like get down to X number of projects or anything. I didn't have a lot of projects at the time, but I found myself like adding on new projects when I wasn't complete with other projects. And I feel like I'm doing that less now. I feel like that really happened in the later half of 2022, where I just started working on fewer projects at a time. What I found for myself right now that's really working well is having 1 main project and 1 secondary project. So 2 projects and that's it. I obviously have more than that now when I just showed you all my whips, but this is what's really actually working for me. And so the way that I'm managing that now is I'm selecting 2 things that are my focus, and then the rest I'm not worrying about. and I'm also not adding new things to it. So when, like, if a project came up that I really wanted to work on right now, I would probably say no to it. But if I did want to work on it, I would say, okay, I want to work on this project. It goes into the front slot and the other ones shift, and I'm not worried about them. I'm not trying to work on multiple things at a time. Like I said, I'm still developing this, but I do feel like I have made a significant amount of progress in it. My other goal was to go deeper into fewer things instead of doing many things poorly. I'm not really sure how to measure this or like how to talk about it, but something that significantly changed the way that I look at lots of things this year is a program that I started for perfectionists called Power Planning. It's really focused on business owners and like planning your day-to-day stuff for business, because I just didn't realize how hard it would be to tell myself what to do and then do it. Why is that so hard to do? So for 1 hour a week, I put on my boss hat and I make my plans for the week. And then the rest of the week I am executing. I'm still putting on the boss hat because I'm having to like adjust things and tweak things and change things, but it's literally changed my life in such a positive way. And I think a lot of that has filtered into everything else. So it's really helped me to like eliminate things that were kind of wasting my time. It's helped me to prioritize and focus on the most important goal. And again, it's just really leaked into my knitting in that I'm like working on fewer things, not so concerned with like, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I feel like that, like, again, these goals that I made at the end of 2021 were so vague because I was so lost. But I feel like much improved. I'm doing fewer things and I'm doing them better this year. I do feel like that's true. My last goal from 2022 was to complete 6 designs. I already shared that I completed 3 designs, so I didn't quite reach that goal, but I'm not so stressed about that. 3 of those designs were in the first 6 months, or all 3 of the designs were in the first 6 months, and then things got really busy. So as I'm looking at this year, I'm kind of thinking like annually, like everything that goes on in Knitty Natty and Love and Stitches, and where it actually makes sense for me to spend time in designing and where I need to leave time to plan things like Sock Week and Sockmas and participating in make-alongs and going to events. So there's a lot of different factors here, and I'm not making a design goal for 2023. Okay, let's talk about my 2023 goals. The sun is setting. I really can't see it because it's super cloudy here and I don't want to lose too much more light. Toaster's been snoozing the whole time. Hopefully you're still having a good time. If you're still here, thank you. Okay, here are my goals for 2023. And I feel fired up and I feel excited and I am like ready to tackle these. And I also believe in myself so much more, but not in a delusional way. Like I know that I can actually do it. I feel like I'm getting better at picking the right things for me to focus on. Okay, goal number 1, finish my 2 scrappy blankets. So that looks like this one. This one is going to be finished in January. I am working on it. This is my January goal. I'm working on it every day, just like I did for Advent, and it is going well. Second one to finish is this one. Oh, I woke Toaster up by making all my ruckus. I'm going to finish this blanket this year. I don't know when, but I do want to finish it. I'm tired of having these just sit in bags, and it's so beautiful. I can't wait to see it put together. So that one will be finished this year. That one requires me finding yarn and learning a new skill, which is the crochet join as you go method. So it will take me a while, but I'm excited to do it. My other goal that I haven't shared in so many words, but I've pretty much been hinting at for a while. My goal is to eliminate my scraps, my yarn scraps, in the first 6 months of the year. I don't want it to take all year. I think I can get rid of them in the first 6 months. I'm going to try my hardest to do that, and that will be coming up in another video because, oh boy, have you not seen how many scraps and mini skeins that I actually have in my stash. Hey, the big skeins are gone. Now it's time to focus on the little stuff and hopefully share lots of tips along the way for anyone who is also wanting to use up their scraps and leftovers. Okay, my third goal. I want to start an intentional handmade wardrobe. I have some fun ideas for this too, but really what that just looks like is looking at the things that I'm actually wearing, like this, looking at the colors, looking at the shapes, looking at the styles, looking at the items. Like, I like wearing sweaters, but I'm not wearing shawls. I like wearing tall socks and I'm not wearing short socks. Letting go of some projects or some finished items, and then making things that I know I'm going to love and wear, and really picking the right materials for that. Fourth, I want to host a make-along for one of my own designs. I'm pretty sure this is true. I don't think I have ever hosted a make-along that actually centers around a pattern that I created, which is crazy. Why have I not done that? So I'm really hoping to do that this year with maybe a new pattern or maybe one that I've already created, but to actually have that public Knitty Natty make-along where we're all making the same pattern together. I can help you, we can get together and knit, crochet, all of that kind of stuff. So look out for more information about that in the coming months. It's probably going to be a few months down the line. My last goal is to host an in-person meetup. I don't know what that's going to look like. It may be here in New York City. It may be somewhere when we travel. I really don't know. But it's something that scares me. I think because I don't know how to like find the space, communicate to people. I'm worried that it's going to be too much, like too many people, excuse me, as I like choke on my own spit. I'm like worried about silly things. And I really want to do that. We have so much fun in the 11 Stitches membership on Zoom, and think about how much fun it would be to get together in person. So yeah, those are my goals for 2023. And I am going to be writing them down in my notebook. I don't think I brought that in here, but I don't look at my Google Docs every day, but my notebook I do. So those are going to be written so I can make sure to review them and make sure I'm working on them this year. I would love to know what you are working on knitting and crochet wise or personally in 2023. So leave a comment and let me know what you are working on. Also, if you want to share it on Instagram, you can use the year in review template down below. Not only does it have like reviewing 2022 as far as your projects, but it has a little space for you to share what your biggest goal is for 2023. So please share that, tag me on Instagram if you're sharing it in your stories, because I would love to see it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!